Hello, everybody. Welcome back to my channel. My name is Dylan James. I'm a mindset coach that loves to specifically focus on relationships. In today's video, we're going to be talking about what to do if you are somebody that happened to sabotage a relationship. Okay. Now, in my recent content that I've been putting out, I've been talking a lot about knowing your worth and your value, not accepting things that are below what you believe you deserve, how to embody a new version of yourself that handles situations differently. And I've kind of focused more on individuals that are not showing up properly for you. In this video, we're going to switch gears to the direction of when you show up in a way that is not the best way to present yourself. Okay. And I'm going to take a very compassionate approach with this because typically when you sabotage a relationship, it's because you have negative beliefs supported by negative experiences that touch on insecurities. You have a hard time trusting an individual. You find yourself getting triggered really easily, creating stories in your mind, searching for problems, reacting to things that aren't necessarily a problem. And eventually the relationship dissolves because either somebody gets fed up and they just can't handle it anymore. They just completely ghost you. They're just not willing to deal with these things that are going on anymore. Okay, so there's a few things that we need to take into consideration here. If you are in a position where you feel like you have sabotaged a relationship with somebody that didn't deserve the way you are showing up, okay? And I'm gonna put some context here just because, again, I've done a lot of videos on knowing your worth and your value. And so some of you may have sabotaged relationships with people that really didn't deserve it. And then others of you may just be misperceiving, okay? And somebody was actually doing something wrong and they're not willing to own up to it, okay? And so with wherever you are in that type of situation and in that context, today I'm going to be talking to the people that they were with somebody and they were just misperceiving, creating negative stories in their mind, negatively reacting to things, let their insecurities take over, and it just create a really messy situation. Okay. For the other side, okay, I've been dealing with that and the worth and value things I've been talking about. Okay. Now, when you are in this position where you have sabotaged a relationship and you're coming into the realization that you have sabotaged it, my first word of advice is to stop being so urgent to fix it, okay? Which I know is going to be a little bit difficult, right? Because you're realizing, oh shit, this person was really awesome. I just fucked something up, okay? I want to make sure I fix this. I hope they don't move on to somebody else. I hope they're not talking to other people. The reality of the situation is they may be, and it doesn't really matter, okay? Because it's none of your business. And if you go into this with those worries, doubts, or fears, you're operating still through the same insecurities that created the issue to begin with, okay? What does that mean? Okay, I'm going to have some advice for you here, but the first thing I'm going to start off with is mindset. I've done a video on my channel previously, and I actually posted it in my community tab, which was, the title is something to the effect of, at the cornerstone of mindset is accountability, right? And when it comes to changing dynamics with individuals, something else that I've really focused on is you have to be the change. You want to adopt new beliefs that allow for you to no longer identify with the previous set of circumstances, that allows for you to show up in a new way and can mentally persist in the knowing of something while embodying this version of you. So when we are in a very urgent space to want to fix something and we're just reacting to our environment, we're living through our insecurities, we're feeling urgency, we want to message this person a lot, we want to let them know that we're sorry, that we didn't mean to do those things. I'm going to let you know right now that needs to come to a full stop. Because if you're in an undesirable circumstance, then continuing to react to it is not going to really get you where you want to be. We need to begin to operate above it, begin to go through a growth process, no longer relate to these circumstances, show up in a new way, and trust what we're doing and persist in the knowing that we're going to be able to fix this and trust and allow for that to occur. My first word of advice, if you have sabotaged a relationship, is to really look at what occurred, not just what they were doing, but why you were perceiving things the way you were perceiving them and why you have particular behaviors that you exhibited. Meaning, you need to become very honest with yourself, extremely honest with yourself. Were you stalking? Were you checking? Were you invading personal spaces? Were you not trusting them? Were you reactionary? Were you making up things in your mind? Were you accusatory, right? And you need to look at those things and ask yourself, why, from a very general standpoint? What do I believe about myself? What do I believe about this area of my life that I need to adjust? Do I have a hard time trusting people in general? Do I have a hard time knowing my worth and my value? Do I have a hard time believing in the progression of a relationship? Do I have a hard time believing that somebody is going to commit to me? Do I have a hard time believing that somebody that I'm attracted to is going to be attracted to me and want to be with me consistently? Am I living in a state of insecurity when I'm in a relationship? What is it within me that is getting triggered that caused me to show up in this way, that created and played a part in the problems that I'm now facing? Yes, you can fix the situation, right? But you need to be very aware of why it occurred and make sure you take the time to address those things, which goes into why you need to release urgency. Because for a little bit of time, you need to go through a growth process. You need to really look at the things that have unfolded and take full ownership and accountability and begin to adjust how you are organizing yourself throughout the day and address these things that you struggle with internally, right? And you can do that with a nighttime recording, definitely making sure you're prioritizing nervous system regulation, short little daily meditations that address those insecurities, worries, doubts, fears, things that cause you to show up in that particular way. Now, if you get very disciplined with this, I mean, like 2 to 3 weeks of doing breath work, morning, midday, nighttime, 5 to 10 little short meditations 2 to 3 times a day. You design a good routine for yourself. You stop focusing on the circumstances and you place your whole entire focus on adopting these new beliefs, stabilizing within yourself, becoming mentally clear, emotionally stable. You should notice that by the end of the 2 to 3 weeks, and yes, I'm going to suggest you sleeping with an affirmation recording on that addresses the things that you struggle with, actually addresses them. Okay. I'm not just talking about statements like, I'm able to manifest anything that I want. I mean, you need to be listening to things that addresses what you are struggling with. So if that means you have a hard time trusting women or trusting men or seeing your worth and value in a relationship or trusting in the progression of a relationship, or you don't have the best beliefs about yourself and somebody being attracted to you and knowing that you're worthy of love or a relationship, those are the things you need to address. And yes, if this, again, if you're sabotaging relationships, then you may need to take more of a growth approach to this, because that tells me that there's probably quite a few supporting experiences that you've had that have served as evidence as to why you hold these beliefs and why you are showing up in that way. So maybe instead of trying to jump straight to these brand new beliefs, you take more of a growth approach. Whatever approach you take, by the end of those 2 to 3 weeks, you should notice if you are actually disciplined and focused on yourself and no longer reacting or trying to reach out to them or trying to fix this situation because you're deciding to be the solution with how you're organizing yourself, you should notice that you no longer are holding on to the previous set of situations and circumstances. This is where also getting beliefs in alignment, like I'm able to fix a relationship, people forgive me, I'm allowed to make mistakes, I can communicate in a way that shows that I have grown, I'm able to take ownership and accountability and know other people will take ownership and accountability, is also going to be really useful, because if you can get those beliefs in alignment and you go through this growth process, you're not going to be feeling urgent anymore. You're not going to be wanting to compulsively reach out or try to fix this situation, because when you're actually grounded in those beliefs, okay, again, from the instance or the standpoint, I'm able to fix a relationship. If I truly believe in my ability to fix a relationship, I'm not going to be feeling urgency, right? I'm going to be in a more trusting space. All right. That's the mindset portion. Okay. If you can really take 2 to 3 weeks to process your emotions, go through a growth process, stop trying to interact with this person, stop stalking all their socials, stop wondering what they're doing, who they could be talking to, you will begin to feel a lot better. Now let's talk about the other aspect to ownership and accountability. Now, I've talked about manifestation on my channel plenty of times before. Yes, you can manifest things to you. That stuff really does work. However, okay, when you have sabotaged a relationship or you haven't shown up in the best way, something that I've also talked about is the way you mentally entertain things, right? Which is a manifestation of your beliefs that you hold about yourself or a particular area of your life, right? So we all have mental images and mental awarenesses of the people in our lives. Now, those perceptions of those individuals in our mind is going to be skewed by our beliefs and also our experiences, right? But if we can get our beliefs in alignment and we can shift our beliefs, then the way we're perceiving something is going to change as well too. And we're going to be able to show up in a way that creates that result, which is why getting a belief in alignment, like I'm able to fix a relationship, is really important. The other thing you need to take into context though is you mentally perceive people, other people also mentally perceive you. So if you haven't shown up in the best way with somebody and you've sabotaged a relationship, that means now the way they are mentally perceiving you is going to be skewed by how you previously showed up. This is why making a genuine change in yourself is very important, because you need to essentially be able to show up in a way with how you're operating, conducting yourself, responding to things that begins to challenge that mental image that they have of you and allows for them to see a new version of you that they can actually be with. With that all said in mind, a portion of what you may need to do, okay, and I'm going to give you this advice, you don't have to take it, I'm just going to give it, is you may need to send a message where you take full ownership and accountability for the insecurities, doubts, fears, whatever it is that you struggled with. Apologize to this person. Tell them that you're not going to try and force them, chase after them, make anything occur, that you're sorry for the way that you showed up, that you really care about them, and that you wish the best for them. Why? Because taking ownership and accountability, apologizing, not chasing after this person, trying to get them to forgive you, trying to get them to like you again, trying to give you a second chance, says that you are willing to take ownership, that you are willing to have enough self-awareness to accept your wrongs, which is attractive. That's something that a secure individual would do. And it also begins to challenge this mental image that they hold of you, right? Now, here's the thing. If you decide to send an apology, listen to what I said there. You're not trying to force anything. So this apology, if you decide to send one, should not be sent in the context of, I'm apologizing to you. Please take me back. I'm really sorry for everything that I did. I've changed a lot. I really miss you. I really care about you. I hope you're not talking to other people. Again, it's not your business if they're talking to other people. And if you're worried about that, you're insecure about it, you're jealous of it, you're possessive towards this person, that is going to work in contradiction with what you want to create. So if you operated in a very insecure and lacking trust way before, in order to create the opposite, you need to be operating in a very secure and trusting manner and a self-recognized manner, which is, I can take ownership and accountability, I can apologize, I can show up in a new way, I can grow, and I can trust and expect that you're going to decide to be with me. I don't need to worry about other people, and I'm going to prioritize just continuing to grow into this version of myself. Now let's talk about living in the end. So let's say you decide to send an apology, or maybe you don't, okay? It's up to you. I recommend it just because I think it's a very attractive thing to do. You don't have to wait for anything. Again, so the whole premise here is if you have sabotaged a relationship with somebody, it's not that you have a limiting belief with a particular person. It's just this area of your life and this certain individual happened to show up and bring out that version of you, which means they're not necessarily that special. Okay. They're special. You love them. I'm not discrediting them. It's just, it could have been anybody. It just happened to be this person. So living in the end is taking on a new identity. You need to go through this process of making these changes. One, yes, you want to fix this relationship, but two, you don't want to recreate these patterns or this way of operating with this person or anybody in the future. So more importantly, this is a growth process for yourself so that no matter who you're in a relationship with, you're not dealing with these insecurities, doubts, fears, jealousy, compulsive, possessiveness, right? Wanting to control somebody. You want to go through this process solely for yourself. And yes, an outcome can be fixing this relationship. However, once you've gone through this growth, you're no longer identified with the previous set of circumstances. If you decide to send an apology, great. If you don't, fine, whatever. Living in the end is stepping fully into that version of yourself. You grew out of these patterns. You're in a space where you know you can fix a relationship. And my advice is to fully embody that. There's nothing to wait for. So if there are other people that are approaching you that you can enjoy, go ahead and do that. If you actually hold a belief like I'm able to fix a relationship, then you're going to hold an awareness that this person is going to reach out to you. They're going to see that you've grown. They're going to give you a second chance. They're going to come towards you, and you're going to trust and allow for that to occur. Again, necessary, because if you were acting in a way that was lacking trust, then you need to step into this version of you and trust that this person's going to see the growth. They're going to accept your apology, and they're going to come towards you. In the meantime, you don't have to wait for that. Okay, so can you go and date other people? Can you do whatever it is that you want in your free time? Sure. Just in your awareness, when you think about this person, you're going to hold a knowing that they really do care about you. They forgive you. They see your growth. They're giving you another chance. If you can go about it in this approach, then you're going to find that that becomes your experience. As they come back into your life, remember how I said earlier, now they're going to have a little bit of a skewed mental perception of you. So you need to be aware of that. Yes, they may forgive you. Yes, they may come towards you. But if you notice any of the previous fights, arguments, things coming up, don't view that as though you're not going to be able to fix this. Okay. Again, this is why getting that belief alignment, I'm able to fix a relationship, is really important. What you need to understand is they need to acclimate and trust you again, and learn this new version of you and establish a new dynamic with you. So if they bring up previous things, instead of getting triggered by it and viewing it as evidence that you're not able to fix this relationship, you just need to see that this is an opportunity for you to fully step into this new version of yourself. Again, take ownership and accountability if you need to, and respond in a way that says, this is no longer who you are. You're sorry for the things that happened previously. You understand why they may be frustrated. You're not here to force anything. You really care about them, and they're totally valid in however they feel, and that things are going to be okay. All right. Because if you go into it and you're like, oh, you're bringing up all these things, I really have changed. Why don't you see that within me? You're going to really start to create a lot more of the previous dynamics that you've had with this person. You have to go into it understanding that there has to be a level of persistence in how you're identified and how you're showing up in this new way. That's going to speak for you, which means instead of escalating problems when they pop up, you need to take a compassionate approach, an accountability approach, a full ownership approach, and just be forgiving for the things that happened previously, and focus on creating a new dynamic with this person where you're no longer feeding into those previous things, okay, without dismissing them or invalidating their feelings. Essentially, you need to consistently show up in this new way and prove to them that this is now who you are, that you're not going to be insecure, you're not going to be jealous, you're not trying to control them, you're not trying to cast doubt on them, right? You need to go in the direction of being secure within yourself, knowing your worth and your value, trusting, and knowing that this person wants to be with you, which means you can't be trying to convince them that, okay? There may be moments where you just have to say, hey, I'm sorry that you're feeling this way. I understand why you're talking about these things. That's just not who I am anymore. I really don't identify as that person, but I also understand why you're bringing this up. I really care about you. I'm sorry. If you need time or space, take whatever time or space you need. I'm not going to force anything on you, and I want you to be comfortable. So I'm sorry that you're still bothered by those things, but I'm really this new version of myself that no longer identifies in that way. And I know as I continue to show up in this way, you're going to see that in me. If you can take that approach, okay, and you can trust, you're going to have success. All right. But along that journey, you may need to humble yourself down. And again, if you decide to send an apology message, it is not because you're trying to convince this person to be with you, convince them that you have changed, beg them to come back. Anything like that needs to stop, okay? And this is why those 2 to 3 weeks of going through a growth process, stabilizing in your nervous system, taking ownership and accountability, growing as an individual is really important, because when you change and you no longer identify with those previous set of circumstances, you're not going to feel the urgency to try to prove something to somebody. You're not going to feel the urgency to try to convince them to be with you. You're not going to feel the urgency behind needing to fix this relationship, because you're going to be operating more within a belief system that I am able to fix a relationship. Therefore, I'm going to allow this to unfold. All right. So I hope this gave you some clarity on how to deal with if you have sabotaged a relationship, if you've had insecurities, doubts, or fears. Can you fix a relationship? Yes, you can. It's okay. We're human. Maybe you just had a lot of really negative experiences in the past. You met somebody, you weren't fully ready to be in a relationship yet. It brought up some things that were unaddressed within you. And if you can take the focus onto yourself instead of feeling urgent for them and go through these changes, take ownership and accountability, trust and allow it to unfold, you should be successful. Okay. All right. I love you all so much. I hope you have a beautiful day, and I'll see you all later. Bye.